Hey, there we
Hey,
go.
hello, buddy.
What's
How
going
are
on?
you?
Hey, Jen, how's it going? Jen, right out of the gate. Good to see you.
Buddy,
Every
good
time
to
I
talk
hear
to
that
you.
intro, I feel like I need a throat lozenge at the end of it.
You know what? I think it sounds so good.
Hey, Patty.
I do. I have to say, I think it sounds amazing.
Hey, Lori. What's up?
Hey, everybody.
Uh,
Welcome.
what's going on, Valerie? What's going on, guys? Good to see everybody coming out. We appreciate it very much. Tara, good to see you as well. Um, yeah, we have some fun stuff going on tonight, don't we?
You know what? We've got a really fun packed show tonight. We have a really cool guest tonight. Really cool. I'm excited to chat with him. I haven't chatted with him in quite some time. I met him actually at the 2019 Michigan Paracon. So I have not spoken to him in person since, but he's a pretty cool cat. I'm pretty excited to have him on the show, and he's going to tell us a lot about what he does and who he is and his experiences. So everybody sit tight.
Since I gotta get popcorn or something, man. I mean, you gotta sit back here. You gotta get some popcorn and get something going on. I mean, I got nothing.
Absolutely.
I've got no juju bees. I've got no popcorn, no juju bees. I don't understand what's going on.
So, guys, at the beginning of every show, I held off for the last couple shows, but this show I'm gonna reiterate. We do simulcast. We cast on multiple networks, so I may not be able to see your comments. Richard can see all of
Hey,
them, so
Sheila.
I'm not ignoring your
Thank you.
comments. But I
Thanks.
please invite you to put Katie if you have a
Tamara.
specific question or comment for me in the comments. If I miss them, I've got a bunch of screens up here trying to collect comments, but I may miss one or two. Okay, so don't hesitate to put that up. Also, on another note, we get a lot of comments during the show, and we're so grateful that it happens. Both Richard and I are really, really, we're pumped that there's so many people that want to have input. This is what this place is, and it's a family. However, we really try to keep the comments to the content. In other words, we never discourage any questions, but we're not ignoring you. Sometimes there's so many questions coming up in the comments page that we can just only kind of select certain ones at the time. So please don't think we're ignoring it. If you have questions after the show, you're welcome to private message us, or you could save it for the next episode.
Well, also too, if you want your comment to get to the front of the line, I'm available on Venmo. Um, Little bribery always goes a long way. You know what I mean? Just saying, because I am the executive producer. So if somebody's going to make it happen, it's
Right?
this guy over here. All right? This guy's going to make it happen. Oh, so how was your week?
My week was cold. That's all I'm gonna
Oh,
say. It was a
yeah.
cold
What are you
week.
at now? What's the temperature now?
So the current, I forgive my, I haven't looked in a, I look out and I see snow and it's cold. It was minus 30 degrees Celsius this morning
Good
and below.
God.
It is now currently
Hey,
minus
Chrissy.
18 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty chilly out there. And to
Wow.
top it all off, we are getting a snowstorm tomorrow. So
Yay.
it's just
No, we got hit
pushing
down here last
it.
night. Well, early this morning, we got hit down here with snow. It is, yeah. Um, it is just one of those things where it cripples the cities here at all. I mean, it literally cripples the city. Whatever city you're in, if it gets snow, God bless you. Because, whoa, the roads are not prepared, and it doesn't matter what vehicle you have. Hey, Samantha, long time no see. Tamara, how are you? It just really doesn't matter what vehicle you've got. It doesn't matter where you're at. You're going to get snow here.
Mhm.
It's going to get clumped up. You're going to get sliding, and you're just going to come off the road. That's just the way it works.
Yep.
Um, but it's just not. They're not prepared. The running joke is in Tennessee and even in Georgia that there's two snow plows, and one's currently on loan to Kentucky. The other one's broke down. So they're just not used to it. They're just not used to it. Um, Now, all
Wow. So
right. So
Sheila says it
Samantha's
was
in
minus.
Orlando.
Yeah, Sheila says it was minus 48 here 2 days ago. That is cold, my friend. That is cold.
Hey, Greg. Samantha says it's 60s in Orlando. Must be
Wow,
nice.
that's cool.
Appreciate that.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
I never get to say hi to each individual person. So, hi, I love you all. Thanks for joining
Well,
us.
I mean, you don't have your mirror. You know what I mean? You don't have your mirror. You keep on forgetting the freaking mirror. I told you.
I know.
You got to have the mirror. I mean, this is like a paranormal version of Romper Room. You got to say hi to everybody through the mirror. It's the way it works.
It's true.
That's
It's
right.
true. So
Hey.
I have an open question for all of our viewers.
Uh-oh.
Lately, I have been
Hey, Melanie.
experiencing a lot of calls on the an uptake
Melanie.
on paranormal activity. I've been experiencing lots of people having wicked dreams, people having potential possession, those types of things. And I'm curious. I'm very
Sorry about
curious.
your loss.
Is anybody else experiencing
Camera.
this? Any investigators? Any
Camera.
viewers? Anybody? I'd like to know because I just find it kind of weird that this is happening now. Usually there is a thinning of the veil, but it doesn't really happen yet. So maybe things are shifting, but I'm quite curious as to what other people are experiencing.
Yeah, I mean, a demonic edge. I think negative energy is on the increase too. I really do. I mean, I think paranormal
Kristen
as
Parker.
a whole is on an increase.
Mhm.
I really do. I think there's something afoot, as it were. I mean, we're not in April. We're not in October, which is typically when the veil thins. But I mean, we're at a situation where there's something going on, and I gotta wonder if it isn't really just is it just because there's more of us out there and we're recognizing it. You know what I mean? We're picking up on it. We all have equipment. We all have the apps in our phones. We all have, is it just the ability that we have to pick up on the paranormal now that shows that there's more activity now? Or what? You know what I mean? Hey, Brenda, how's it going?
Mhm.
Adam, good to see you.
Absolutely. So Brenda says, Adam says, okay, we'll start. Tara says, like bad dreams, yes. So not productive, not something that it's a heavenly dream in the terms of, you're either frightened, you're scared, you're running from something, something's chasing you, or you're chasing it. But those unnerving dreams.
Hey,
Who
Jamie.
else? Adam says, bad dreams that are strange. Absolutely. So a lot of these accounts that I'm getting, are people are conscious in their dreams. It's something that they are aware
Hey,
of.
Judy.
They know it's almost like they know they're dreaming, or they feel like they're in a different state than dream. So
Hey, Tim.
they're afraid. They know they're afraid in these dreams. Who else?
Hello. Let me get a bunch.
Brenda, my dreams have been crazy lately. It's every night. Okay, so we're on to something. Something's going down. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it might be just, it might be spicy food. You never know. Just, down here, it might be crystals. You never know. Uh, for those of you who don't know crystals, it's a hamburger joint very similar to White Castle. And you folks up in the Great White North have no idea what White Castle is, I'm sure. But,
No,
they're
well, we
steamed
do,
burgers
we
with
do, but
onions.
we don't. Yeah.
Yeah, steamed burgers with onions. Yay. That's a great way to go ahead and ruin your stomach for the evening. But you never know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's also the full moon tonight. So that also amps things and changes things. So, who knows?
Well, I mean,
Who
and
knows?
Valeria said she just asked about the April October thing. It's really just when the veil thins down, so it's, there's a lot easier to cross from one side to the other, and that's usually October, of course, for everyone that has Halloween. And
Jessica?
that is one of the
Yeah.
typical months, and then you have the month of April, where essentially it's every 6 months. It's just an every 6 month rotation, and the veil thins out, activity becomes higher. Uh, so it's less strange. But I really don't have a handle on it myself as to what's going on with the paranormal activity now and the increase. So the uptick, as it's called on television, the uptick in
Mhm.
activity. Personally, I don't have an answer, and that's kind of strange that we don't have answers because you're the Wikipedia of paranormal,
It,
and
yeah,
I'm the trucker of paranormal. So
unnerving. It's unnerving. Well, maybe Daniel will be able to, maybe he'll be able to give us some answers.
I think it's time we bring him in. What do you think?
All right. Well, let me introduce this gentleman because I'm pretty excited to read a little bit of his bio for you guys. So, everybody, are you ready? Daniel has had a lifelong interest in the paranormal field since he was a child. He was raised in a haunted house. In 2012, he co-founded the Greater Western New York Paranormal Society, which he was responsible for tackling some of the most challenging paranormal cases in the New York region. I can't wait to hear about that. Daniel is a long-term film producer of Behind the Shadows, a documentary film series viewed internationally. He is also executive producer on 2 weekly live radio shows, Live with legendary psychic Bernice Golden and Phenomena Encountered. Both shows are known for garnering thousands of views with each episode. As of June 2015, Daniel realized his lifelong dream. The infamous Hinsdale House and home site of the mysterious paranormal insect infestation activity and historical structural exorcisms, which has been featured in different books and featured on national network television series, became available for purchase. Wasting no time, he made an offer that was accepted, and he became a proud owner. In 1853, the Hinsdale House is currently staged, in the 1970s period dressing in order to maintain its integrity from that era when the hauntings began. The home is currently used as a paranormal research location. So how cool is that? I'm pretty excited to hear about these stories.
I am as well. I think we just need to bring them in.
All right, with further ado, let's do this.
Do it. Let's do it. There he is. What's up?
What's up, guys?
How's it going, man?
It's going good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
You kind of look like you've been working or something, man. You kind of look like you had that kind of a day or something.
I've been working, watching football and babysitting my godson. I threw this all on real quick and came to my office. I try to keep my work in my office and my personal life at home, you know. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So welcome to the show. We were excited to get you on here. With the advent of having the Hinsdale House added to the portfolio for you, I know that's going to keep you real busy as well.
Oh my God, yeah, it really does, and I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have help. Trust me. I mean, I have a lot of people, volunteers that help with the location because I'm at different conventions. I'm going away on weekends. I'm also doing events and things like that. And if I didn't have them to help, I wouldn't be able to run it smoothly. So I have a great team of folks that help with the location, making sure that the history is told correctly when people come there,
right?
And allowing for them to kind of do what they do. We want people to come there from all aspects of life, all different types of backgrounds, and really see what they can get as far as the ongoing research goes with this location.
That's excellent. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. I am north of the border, so I'm in Canada. I would love to make my way south, but unfortunately, it's not in the cards as of yet. But one day I will be there. So, Daniel, take us back a little bit. You said you grew up in a haunted house. So tell me how it started for you.
It started off as a little kid. I actually did a feature on Travel Channel and Sci-Fi Channel up in Canada. Discovery Plus, but it was called My Paranormal Nightmare, and my sister was actually on the show with me, so if anybody wants to check that out.
So I've done an episode too.
What's that?
I've done an episode as well.
Yeah, so you kind of know how it rolls. It was just like as a little kid, things would happen that were mysterious that there was no explanation for, and it was always kind of sloughed off by my parents as people pulling pranks or just making me think that nothing really happened. They were kind of trying to protect us. And it just kind of progressed as I got older. I was always scared to go in the basement. Everybody has intuition. Everybody has that feeling, like, is there something down here? Why am I scared? And I think just growing up in that location made me scared to want to go in the basement. Later in life, we saw shadow figures down there. My mom saw stuff down there that she didn't tell us about. But really solidified at home, like I was with my parents were camping up at Shirkston in Canada, and I stayed back with my next door neighbor, my best friend, and we were going over to my house to get G.I. Joe guys. None of my family was there. Nobody was there. They were all up camping, and we opened the door and we heard singing coming from the upstairs. And it sounded like a little boy and a little girl like singing right around the Rosie, like I'm like, who the heck's in my house? I wanted to get out of there. And my buddy's like, who's up there? And he ran up the stairs, and my sister's stuffed animals were sitting in the middle of the floor. Now, the only reason I know that my sister didn't leave them in the middle of the floor is because she was OCD about her stuffed animals. She made sure that they were neatly placed on the bed every day before she went for school. And she wouldn't have left them sitting there, and she just wouldn't have. And later, when she came home, she accused me of pulling a prank on her by putting those in the middle of the floor. So I mean, it was like something was there, and you always felt like there was something in the corner of your eyes. I had left, gone to college, and later my parents said, Danny, we're going to move. Would you want to buy the house from us? And I thought, well, this would be cool because I have a son, I have another daughter on the way. It would be cool to live in the neighborhood I grew up in. I know all the neighbors. My kids can go to the same school that I went to. And my son started having some of the same experiences that I had. But to a further level, like he was seeing things, he was seeing my wife was seeing a little girl on the stairs. So they were actually visually seeing things. When I went to Lilydale, at that point, I hadn't really believed in psychic ability. I didn't really think too much about it. And my friend coaxed me into going there. And I said, well, set me up with a good psychic, let's see what they can do. And she set me up with a good one. She set me up with the president of the Lilydale Assembly. And I remember her name, and I still talk to her to this day. Her name's Ellen Bourne. And she, before I even sat down or gave her a penny, she said, you have 2 children spirits living in your house. They're attached to something that was original in this house and original to the house. And they're there, and you have to figure this out. You need to find out what it is, So I was like, huh. Now we tore the place up and down, left and right, trying to figure out what the heck they could have been associated with. Did research on the house. Now that I had the deed, I was able to actually go back and see the other families' names and do research on the families that were at the house. And I did come up with a little boy and a little girl that had died of cystic fibrosis from the original owners.
Wow.
Which was, I was like, okay, all right. So, and then the one day I was upstairs on the 3rd floor, and there, those little attics that have a little square, but there's no that's I looked up.
They're the worst.
I'm like, man, I've never really been up in that thing, I wonder, that's the only place I haven't explored in this house. So I remember popping that thing open. I had to pound it, and it was like opening a can of tennis balls, and put the flashlight around up there, and there were these boards. It was the only thing that was up there, these boards up on the leaning against the wall. Tiptoed over there, and when I turned around, there were paintings of a little boy and a little girl playing with a dog. There was a series of them, 6 of them. And I was like, holy, bad word. And I just felt like I don't know, after I found those and said, what, this is what you're attached to. This is what we were looking for. It's okay. You're safe. You can go with the light. It felt like I don't know, like a heaviness was lifted off the house. Not that it was a bad feeling, I learned to live with it. I feel like they're kind of part of the family, but right. It gave them a sense of, okay, we can move on. They've acknowledged us, type of thing. So it was kind of like the first Scooby-Doo episode of my life that kind of got me going into the realm of the paranormal, starting to research it more after that, because it was like I felt like I accomplished something, doing all the research and stuff like that, and ended up meeting people in Buffalo that had the same interest as I did and started doing it,
Yeah. And I find, once you can't unsee that stuff. So I'm a psychic medium, I had the similar kind of history as you, in the sense that I started having episodes when I was younger, and I was intrigued. I wanted to do research, but I find that once you see something, you can't unsee it. Once you've seen that side of the spectrum, there's kind of no going back. And some people choose to kind of damper it down, and some people kind of delve into it. And it seems to me that's kind of what you've done. So at what point did you start paranormal investigating? When did you get all serious about this?
Well, about 15 years ago. I've been doing it for a while. I dabbled in it. I started learning probably at least 20. I started doing the tours, going to Gettysburg, doing the research, doing all the fun things, and then learning from people, just kind of sucking it all in. And I learned kind of what I didn't want to do, and I learned what I thought would be good, and I thought of things that maybe I wanted to try. And that's what kind of pushed me forward to forming my own team, and kind of starting exploring myself and documenting what we were doing.
Pretty cool. That's amazing. We all fall into it for different reasons, but I feel like we're all doing the same common goal, in the sense that we're all kind of holy grail. We're trying to find answers. Myself being sensitive, and we're all sensitive to a certain degree, but as Richard as well, it's one thing to walk in on a psychic level, but it's another thing to try to correlate this stuff with evidence and trying to, collect as much as possible over and over again. Let's kind of jump forward. So you did a bunch of this stuff, and you developed a team. You're very serious about the team. And was this kind of residential cases, or is this something that you wanted to have your own location to kind of investigate,
No,
or were you trying to help?
I never thought about having my own location. For me, it was a hobby. We did do residential cases quite often, but we also did bigger locations that had claims of paranormal, and tried to see if we could come up with any type of answers at those, and documented what we were doing on film while we were walking around in these locations. And dabbling with both, like with the cameras and trying to help people on the same level. And I always felt like it was fun doing the television stuff, but it was also, on the other hand, much more compelling to me to be able to sit there and have somebody crying across the table for me, because we were able to give them answers as to what was happening in their house, and making them feel, like right here, right in their heart, that it was not negative, but it was positive, and that they could go on living their life, and kind of give them ways to coexist with what was going on there.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, agreed. Is there, before you got into the Hinsdale House and all of that stuff, was there a goal that you had in mind? You had been doing some TV stuff before the Hinsdale House. You were doing, was your goal? Did you find that the Hinsdale House fell into your lap, or was this kind of part of your goal? I know it was a dream of yours, but it kind of seems to me that everything kind of fell into place as it should have been, right?
Yeah, like I'm a strong believer in that. Things happen for a reason. You fall apart from people for certain reasons, and you gain new friends sometimes. But I think that all things happen the way that they're supposed to, if you let them, if you trust in what's going on, and you have faith in yourself, and faith in what your purpose is in life. And I second guessed myself so many times with the Hinsdale House, and even to the day that I was going to sign the mortgage, and I just took a leap of faith with it, and I feel like everything fell into place. Everything happened. I don't know how I came up with the extra money. I know how I came up with the extra money, but I can't believe I came up with the extra money that I needed to put on the deposit to get it. And I can't believe the amount of people that have been there to help through the whole process. It's just amazing to me.
I often describe to people that when it's meant to be, it finds you. You don't find it, and it's that synchronicity and all those, being so synchronous that it's meant to be yours. So let's get into the Hinsdale House a little bit. So let's talk about the beginnings for you. What kind of transpired? How did you find this place, and how did it happen for you?
Well, I didn't find it. My co-founder of the group, Cameron, he actually booked the location, and that was normally something that I took care of, because I'm more detail oriented than he was, and I wanted to make sure that everybody had a place to crash, that we had food, just all the little details of going on an investigation, making sure that everybody's happy. And he's like, I got this location on this day. It was in the middle of the winter in January, and he's like, don't do any research on it. I'm going to brief everybody when we get there. So I'm going into this place blind. I'm going into the location blind, as was the rest of the team at that time. And I remember getting there. It was almost, I didn't make it, because the roads were so icy. You're going up this hill in the middle of southern tier of New York State, which is very icy, very snowy in the middle of the winter. Those are the places that you see the pictures on the Weather Channel of the blizzard going on all the time. This is it, And made it up the hill, and there was no directions, like, what do I go this way? Do I go this way? And I ended up going the wrong way and almost got my car stuck. And then finally I did get down to the house, and I just remember seeing this house, little white house in the middle of nowhere, overgrown, everything. Like, okay, here's our investigation for the night. And I walked in, and there's only electricity was in the living room, and that was the space heater in there, and that was it. Like, here we are, no cell phone service, no electric, gonna get stuck. Like, it was all the makings of a horror story, really. And we sat down in the living room, and he put his laptop out, and he had us watch the episode of A Haunting, A Dark Forest, which is based on the story of the family that lived there in the 1970s with the demonic things that were happening, the failed exorcism. And I remember watching that and then looking over at him, and I'm like, are we in that house? are we in the house that they're talking about on the show right now? And he's like, yeah, cool. I'm like, are you effing kidding? I was pissed because it was like, this is a face of a failed structural exorcism that didn't go right, and the family basically left, and here we are sitting in this place with, that's kind of want to prepare myself for something like that mentally before I go into something like that. But it ended up being a night that wasn't, there wasn't anything really negative happening. It was a bunch of positive interactions with energies there that I felt like they wanted to have their voices heard, but they weren't able to have their voices heard because we're using primitive K2 meters and recorders, and it's like there's no conversation going on. Like I might get a conversation on a recorder, but then it's 10 minutes later when I'm listening to it, and I'm not getting I can't have a full response with what was going on there. But I got kind of infatuated with the location because it was not unlike any other place that I had ever gone, because there's places I've gone and sat for hours and maybe got one little bleep on a K2 meter or an EVP. And I felt like at this location, I was getting every piece of equipment going off. It was like it was saying something to me. And I had started going there more often and researching it. And then the owner that was in actually Alberta, owned it at the time, defaulted on the mortgage, and the bank was just going to tear it down because it was such in disarray. And I was there saying goodbye to the location. Basically, we were filming it, and I had done research on a family that lived there, the last family, the Misnick family. In the 1980s, they were an older couple, and I had a K2 meter in my hand. At this point, all the duct work, all the electrical, everything was ripped out of the house, and there's no explanation as to why there would be electrical impulses happening or anything like that. And I had the K2 meter in my hand, and I said, "Are you here, Flo?" Because they were all talking about the exorcism and nothing was happening. Like there's got to be more to this place. There's got to be more. There's got to be other families that lived here that experienced things after this family in the 70s. And as I said that, I got like a jolting electrical charge up my arm. The K2 meter went all the way to 500 milligauss. And I felt like, okay,
that's high. Holy wow.
Yeah. And I said, wow, I'm having a conversation with Flo. This is a different energy from this house, and I continued to have what I felt like was a conversation with her. And then I asked her if she'd hold my hand as I went up the stairs. I have this all on video, all on my YouTube station. And I had my hand out with the K2 in my hand. I felt that charge, and the K2 meter stayed lit in my hand all the way up the stairs into the master bedroom until I tried crossing over into the room that always has all the flies and bugs in it and everything like that. And then it was just like all the synchronicities with this happening that night. I had posted a picture of the house on my Facebook page the next day, and I got a message from this lady named Jackie Chandra. And she said, "Oh my God, you have a picture of my grandparents' old house." I go, "What?" I go, "Who's your grandparents?" And she said, "Flo and Joe Misnick." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me right now."
What are the odds? Synchronicity.
Yeah. And, she's still part of the location. She started telling me stories about when she was a little girl and things that had happened to her when she was there. And, she's basically, to me, family. She's a family of the house, and she's part of it. And she'll come up for tours. She's interested in paranormal investigating. And from that point, I knew that I had to save the place. I had to try. And it was weeks from demolition. It was weeks away from demolition. And I called the realtor and wasn't getting a call back. And finally, I got a call back from the lady's son, because she had passed away, that was in charge of the realty company. And he's like, you want to buy the property? I'm like, yes. And he goes, well, we're knocking it down and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I want it with the house. He goes, you don't want it with the house. It's got black mold. It's got 500,000 honeybees living in the wall. There's no reason. And I explained to him why I wanted it. And he kind of felt felt my vision, what I wanted to do, and why I wanted to try to save it. And he's like, well, you're going to have to sign a cash deal then. I'm like, what? Because nobody's going to insure this place. Nobody's going to come. If they're going to come and inspect it and say, knock it down, And so it had to be, I had to come up with, he had basically had to hold the mortgage for me. And I had to come up with a big chunk of change that I didn't know how I was going to do that, because I just bought a new house for my family. And everything just fell into place. I got the deposit. I remember driving down and standing in front of the house thinking, my God, I'm using all of my life savings that I have left. Somehow my wife agreed to let me do this right now. and I have the rest of the money, but now I'm in debt even more. Now I'm in debt. Now I owe somebody else money. And I looked at the house and I looked at the grass. It was 4 feet tall and the door was wide open and people break in all the time. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I, what am I doing right now? And something just pushed me to go sign it and do it. And from that point, from the date that I signed that is from the point that I just can't believe the amount of help that we've gotten, as far as like the paranormal community, investigators from all over the world have come. That within that first summer, I didn't know if how the house was even going to last without having a new roof put on, and we had a new roof put on the location. And with 64 volunteers came down one day and started help painting it and scraping it and just doing the little things. And it was for the first few years, it was all patchwork, patch this, patch that, until you could save enough money to actually do the job correctly. And everything's just been working out. I mean, it's been, my whole thing too, like with these locations that I've been to as an investigator, it was like you pay an arm and a leg sometimes to go to these locations if you really want to get in there and have some alone time. And I wanted to make a location that was affordable, where I could still use some profit from the donation from the investigation to put towards the place to try to help fix it up. But I didn't want it to be unattainable for anybody to go to, because I feel like anybody that's interested in this is sometimes discouraging because of the amount of money that you have to put into it. So there's times where I've let people go for free. There's times, and I feel like what goes around comes around, like I just want to have good people there investigating. And, and it's come back tenfold because we've been able to do so much at the location. People that have been there 8 or 9 years ago and they come back today, they're going to think it's not even the same house, because it looks like a well-maintained farmhouse now. The property looks good. And we're continuing what we're doing. We're continuing with the vision I have. We've also taken that vision and saved another location about an hour and a half away. It's called Wildwood Sanitarium, which is in Santa Monica, New York. Cool. And we've kind of taken the same business plan as Hinsdale House, incorporating that over to that place. And we've just put a new roof on that location. And people are continuing to support that location as well. And it's like renovating through the paranormal, like the paranormal, the energies from the past are helping to bring new life into these old locations if you do it the right way and if you're doing it for the right reasons.
Absolutely. Respectfully, right? Respectfully, yeah. They're going to work with you. Did you find that when you were getting both locations, we'll talk about both locations, did you find that a lot of activity happened as the renovations were taking place, or, you're fixing things up? Oftentimes when clients contact me, and Richard, it's because they've started to have activity, or things have changed, they've amped up, and one of the first questions I ask, well, have you renovated? Have you changed anything? Have you upgraded anything? And a lot of times they say yes. Did you notice there was a lot of shift in that paranormal activity when you were doing that?
Not so much at this location. I feel like it was very active before and during, but I feel like a lot of what we did, a lot of what we experienced while we were renovating was pushing us to something else. It was like giving us little clues, you know what I mean? And pushing us in the right direction. Like when we were renovating the bathroom, we were able to find historical items in the walls. Like,
how cool is that?
Like little things in the walls that meant a lot, that had to do with generations of people that lived in that house. And I feel like allowing have the doors open for different investigators and people coming in, we've been able to get like pushed towards different ways and incorporated with people that are able to give us additional information, that are pushing us towards looking for things there that we've actually been able to come up with answers. So it's really cool.
That's great. So back to the house. Do you find that? And I don't want to have any spoilers for those of you that want to go to investigate. We're going to do all of the information at the end of the episode. But do you find that it's the land, or do you find it specific to the house?
Both. I feel like the land has a different story, and I feel like look at my hair. The land has a different story, and I feel like the house has a different story. I think the house is placed on the historical land, I think that has a lot to do with why the house is as active as it is. But what you get in the house sometimes is not what you're going to get on the outside of the house. I think the outside of the house, you get a lot more of the native energy, in a positive way now. Like we've brought shamans to the land, having it blessed. different types of Wiccan witches that have come there, different lay people from all different ways of life, coming and putting their blessings and positiveness into the land and the property. And it seems to have an astounding effect on our communication with what we've been able to accomplish on the property. We've gotten communication from Native Americans. We've got pictures of a woman in white out by the pond, a Native American chief in the driveway, full headdress. Unbelievable.
So neat.
We've incorporated one of my volunteers there that helps out with overnight tours, Amy Perry Brock, and her husband. They did tours there for a long time, and they started doing this giving, that you want to give and show the native energies there that we want to have our worlds combine, and this is a positive gift that we're giving to you. And a lot of what she did is she always had the guest that came there give something. So there's a tree up behind the house that we started, and it's a spectacle now. But you'll see feathers hanging from it, donations, just little trinkets, and it's just beautiful. That's like a giving tree to the natives of the land, and it seems to really open up a positive communication with what's there on the outside. Because we've had like native drumming, we've had people that have seen elemental type things going on there. We've had human energies there. So I mean, it's like, I think there's a lot that has to do with the property as well.
Yeah. So let's go back to the exorcism. So it was back in the early 70s, the exorcism happened. Do you have any history on what happened or why you feel that occurred?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually flown to Oregon and sat with Clara Dandy. She was the lady that owned the house in the 1970s with her family that had this all happen. She has a book written called Echoes of a Haunting. And to be able to sit with her and just hear everything that happened to her family, it was surreal, just to be able to sit there with her. And she actually made us dinner, and we got to film her. And I just wanted to have everything documented, because she's 89 years old. She's an amazing woman. She's a great author. She's written so many books. But just to hear the story out of her own mouth, I mean, her family was tormented there. They had things happening, scratches happening, where they were consulting with this priest from St. Bonaventure. And he's a Catholic priest, but he was very high in the occult. He was learning all about different types of occult back then. And this is back before the movie The Exorcist came out. So this is very taboo with what was happening there. And it was deemed demonic, but that's what the church would call anything that was maybe in a negative factor. They came and did a mass at the house. And it died down for a little while, but then after that, it came back full force. And then they ended up bringing a psychic in, Alex Tanis. They have a big foundation for him right now. He's a very famous psychic. They brought in a film crew from New York City. The priest came in. Ed and Lorraine Warren had stopped in there actually as well. And they performed the structural exorcism in the location. I know exactly where it happened. In the living room, they all knelt in a circle. And they said that the whole house shook, and it was cleared like probably 2-3 seconds after they did this structural exorcism. They had the microphone outside of the window, and it said like the house was screaming. And that's the thing, like everybody makes it sound like the house is its own entity in a way, kind of, and the house is its own personality. But it didn't work. And then they actually, the advice from the priest was to leave. And that's what they did. They hightailed it all the way out to California. Laura, one of the younger daughters, didn't happen at the house, but she was tormented there. She was tormented at that location, and she ended up committing suicide down the road. Michael Dandy, he sustained an injury in Hinsdale when he was younger, and died of an embolism when he was going to visit Clara. And they said it was from a previous injury that he had. So she thinks that the house came back to get him, and this is later in life even, it's like the house is haunting her or something. But my goal is to be able to give her answers. I don't want her to go. We've already been able to give her which is really nice for her to be able to know that, hey, I'm not crazy. These are things that may have happened, or these are things that why this may have occurred, and it's a very personal type thing to be able to. It's like I'm helping her from back then, but now,
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Sorry to interrupt you, Katie. I think it's really important that people understand to be able to investigate the same building over and over again, to be able to establish that kind of relationship with the other side is super important. We talked about it several times on the show before. I am picking up management of 3 different buildings myself that run the Historical Society, and all doing that just to be able to maintain a place that it can be kept up and respected for its history. I mean, a couple of them are pre-Civil War locations as well. That stuff's going to disappear if we don't take care of it. Somebody's got to take care of it. And we hold events there as well. But I found that there's a lot of places that really aren't looking to get into preserving the history. They're just into preserving the almighty dollar. And that, that's you're telling us in the beginning of this that you let people in. It's an expensive trip out. You're not charging millions of bucks to get in there, and that I think is where a lot of locations make a very large mistake. I think they figure, hey, I want to get as much money as I can right out the gate, and what you're doing is honestly you're alienating the real professional investigators that come out. Because honestly, I know I go out, and I know Katie goes out to places like that you just go out there to be able to engage history. You go out there to talk to history. And just that thought process, you have the ability to do that at the Hinsdale House and even the locations I run. You have the ability to do that. How cool is that? Now, does that mean that we should charge you $1,500 to walk through the door? No. But it's just one of those kind of things where you're doing it for the same reason I'm helping the historical societies out for, and that's just to preserve history.
Right.
It's ultra important. People don't get it. They go, oh, it's this, it's an abandoned building. No, there's a lot involved. You're talking about putting roofs on buildings. You're making major investments in this just to preserve the history of the buildings.
Right.
I wish we had more people willing to do that, but it comes out of your pocket. Like you said, you're taking the investment personally to do this. So, man, I applaud you for that. I really do.
I think a lot of people could do this, and I've actually been told we should collaborate and maybe like write a book. It's business. It has to be treated as a business, but it also has to be. You have to have heart. You have to know what you're doing, and I could charge $1,500 and get it for sure. But will I have the benefit of allowing this team to come back over and over and over again to continue their research? Or maybe stay for a weekend or 3 or 4 days because they can't afford to do that with $15 or $1,500 pricing.
Right.
But what I've noticed with my location is if you go look at my calendar right now for Hinsdale House for 2022, there's 2 Fridays left until November. All Saturdays have been booked through the whole 2022, and weekdays are starting to get booked because people want to come back and continue their research and utilize the amount of time that I give them there to do their experiments and try to help out with you employ them to be part of it. You want everybody that comes there to be part of it, and everybody's having their own experiences there. Let it be maybe some of the same ones, but some are having different experiences, and that's important because they're collecting that data when I'm not even there. And now now we're sharing that data, and we're able to utilize that data to help push us forward with what our ultimate goal is at that location. And a lot of people don't see the bigger picture, when
they really don't. And honestly, you get these places where people go out and they hype them up. They go out there one time and they think they're done, and they think they got enough out of it. With me,
depends on what your goals are,
What's that?
It depends on what their goal is for the location,
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I have found that I like to repeat my stay at places because you develop a rapport with who's in the building. And to go to one place one time is kind of, to me, that really cuts out a lot of ability to learn a thing. You just don't really learn what's going on in buildings like that when you don't have more than one night there as a relationship with what's going on in the house or the building. So, to keep, again, you're keeping the bookings closed up and that's great. But I actually challenge teams. If you're going to go to a location and you're going to get activity, you're able to collect a lot of evidence at the Hinsdale House one night, why are you not booking 2 or 3 more down the road? Why are you not? If you are, great. If you're not, why aren't you? Because that's a mistake.
A lot of teams are, a lot of people are, and actually people will book. I have one lady that's been involved with it for a couple of years now. She's booking 2 years in advance because she wants to go on the same days every year. and then she's booking 4 or 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
And and the cool thing with the Hinsdale House and building these extra buildings and having the data that we're collecting, that I've been collecting since I've had the house, is all of this data is available for everyone when they get there. They're able to utilize the mass kit from the priest as a tool, if they think that will be helpful to them with what their goal is when they come there. The stuff that we found there, arrowheads that we found in the ground. Whatever I have, I employ people to utilize when they come to the house in order to benefit their investigation that they're having. It's not like I just remember, like, when I first started off, it was like every team and did their own research on a location, and everybody came in with kind of the same basic information, and nobody's pushing farther. Nobody's pushing farther.
Right.
Exactly.
And being able to, if I could have just had that information and then, okay, look at all this, now let me try this or this or this, and maybe push it a little farther. Maybe I'm going to get a different response. Maybe I'm going to get something different than the norm. And that's where I want to go with it. I want people to be able to come into the museum and say, oh, here's all the data from 2001. Here's all the data from 2002. Right. Here's a map of all the hotspots in the house where people got something. Let's utilize this data and with our investigation that we're going to be doing here for the next 2 nights and see what we can come up with. Maybe we can help advance this or get this or do that, and go forward.
Well, I'll tell you, that's great stuff. I'll tell you what I had as an idea now that I'm taking on 3 locations is I had an idea of doing a vlog for the people that come and investigate the building, just kind of an experience vlog. And then you get a chance to review that whenever you want to, yep. Just a brief bullet point of what went on that night. But then there's a video post as well that kind of follows up with that and allows them to be able to see where the transition of the energy is going. It allows them to be able to see, like you said, more advanced research opportunities. Right. It's just an idea in a cloud.
I kind of have that going on there right now, except it's just more primitive. I have it's kind of like an Airbnb, like where you go and you kind of fill out how your experience was, and this is.
Okay.
So I have every team that comes there write something in the book, whether nothing happened or we heard a noise upstairs, we heard footsteps at 1:24 in the morning. But I've been doing that since before I owned the house.
Right.
Keeping those books in there, and I have all that data that we have to incorporate and put out there as far as for people to utilize, so people can go back and look at the books now that I have for the past 8 years if they want.
Yeah. Have you picked up on a lot of different methodologies with teams that have gone in there?
Yeah. And actually, Wilson, cool. If I can, a lot of the times I'll stay. If they want me to, or if they ask me to, I'll come up and investigate with them for a little while. Or a lot of the times they feel like me, or maybe like Tim Shaw or somebody that's familiar with the location. If they're at the location, they're going to have better chances of getting something to happen. But yeah, I like to learn. I'm still learning. It's fun for me, and it's a blessing too. Like I get called to go do events at other locations and investigate with people, like I'm some type of something of importance in the paranormal world or something like that. But it's I feel like it's amazing to be able to do that and work with other people and learn from each other. There's a lot of rookies sometimes, but a lot of times I'm going to these events and there's people pulling up with trailers of equipment that have investigated the location 300 times, and here I am. Who am I? Let's see what you have to say and learn from you, and maybe I'll incorporate some of the stuff that I do as well. But it's amazing, to be able to do stuff like that and just keep learning.
Well, you're saying Tim Shaw, so you let Tim Shaw in the building? Will you let anybody in the building at that point? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, yeah. He's been going there long before I owned it, so he actually helped me out a lot as a mentor growing up. And I know you're joking because
loved him.
He just helped me along, with my paranormal journey up to where I am today, and I owe a lot to him. Even we're flying on planes to events together because of the path that he kind of pushed me. He pushed me into this a lot. Him and Bernice both did. Bernice that passed away, the psychic that I used to work with her radio show, but she gave me a lot of insight on what my future would hold if I stayed this course.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know
yeah,
what's funny, Daniel? Sorry to interrupt you, Richard, but
that's good.
Kim and I had a conversation a few years back, and he told me I'd be doing this. So, it's kind of ironic. I loved him very much. He's been on our show a few times.
Yeah.
We have such a high respect. What I love about Tim, and you're very similar in the same regard, is it's about respect. It's not about becoming famous or celebrity status. It's respect, and you've
Right.
earned so many people's respect, and that's why I was so excited to have you on the show, because you're so down to earth. You're willing to learn. You're willing to share your knowledge. And, it's just another day at the office for you, which is fantastic. That's the way it should be. We're all about, learning as much as we can.
Right. And I also remember, like, when I first started off, if I didn't have the personality that I had, how discouraging it could have been. Like, if I couldn't just kind of let it go like this. And I have just, like anybody that's ever expressed interest to me as far as investigating goes, I've just been an open door. Like, here's information. Well, you're having a hard time getting into a location. Well, I happen to know a few people. Let's get you some locations to investigate. And it's just worked very well to get. And I've seen a lot of young people that normally probably would have been discouraged and not taken a path down the investigating paranormal, just make amazing wonders, with what they're doing. And it's just, I'm happy to see so many of the people that I've associated with forming their own teams or documenting things or just having fun with it, really, because it's not all about this is the way it's supposed to be or blah blah blah. So many people take so many different paths into this field, and you have to respect all of them, all the different ways that people get into it. And if you do that, then I think you'll have a happy bubble around you. Otherwise, you're going to be crappy. It's going to be crappy.
We've got a couple comments, so I'll just get on top of them, or we won't be able to get to them. But Adam Tipler says we have to learn from history. So he was touching base on when we were talking about getting back into the history of the building. Melissa June Daniels, I had an amazing experience at the Hinsdale House. I have to return with different equipment. So you've got another fan there. She says it's off the beaten path, but very much worth the trip. Geographical location driving through is beautiful any time of year. I have to listen. And then she says, I have to listen to Tim Shaw give prayers live. He is very kind. Yes, we love you, Tim. Tim is in the house. We love Tim. But, I always hear wonderful stories. Now, I've heard the horror stories, too. That you had a very well-known couple of paranormal investigators, Nick Groff and Katrina Wyman, come in at one time with Paranormal Lockdown, and they did an extensive investigation for one of the shows. That was pretty scary, that's right, too. Pretty intense, those moments. Do you have a lot of those there?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of intense moments that people have had throughout the years that I've owned it. I can tell you with Nick, it's been an amazing journey with him. He hasn't just come to my location and said, let me film this TV show, and then disappeared. He's come back, and he's come back many, many times, to the point where he's helping to film a documentary series that are helping us dive into the folklore of the location. And it's going to be called Dead Remains. I can't wait to let everybody know about it when it's all finished. But it's something that we've been filming for a while, and he's an amazing person. His cousin Justin, who got in contact with me about filming there, it was he knew more about it than I did. He had done more research on it than I had at the time, and I was very impressed. And it's amazing what we've been able to uncover working together. With that location as well. I mean, there's going to be a lot of big things that come out of this. I can tell you that right now.
That's so cool. I hope that we get it, up in our neck of the woods. Our television's a little bit different up here, but I'm hoping to get it.
Well, you're getting his new show right now, Death Walker. It's on Sci-Fi Channel. You're lucky because it hasn't even been announced for the States yet. United Kingdom's gotten it, Canada's gotten it, not us yet. And I'm part of that. So.
We're lucky. It goes the same for television all over the world. It's different in every different area. Can we touch base on Wildwood a little bit? Can we talk a little bit about the sanatorium? Tell us, a little bit more about that. What's going on there?
So it was this built in 1903. It's a smaller sanatorium. It was a tuberculosis hospital, then a holistics hospital. It was only 8 bedrooms. It was just very small because it's in the southern tier. It's not a highly populated location, but it was very much needed back then. There's so much history with that location. We've actually been able to find documents that were hidden in the location from the original sanitarium. I don't own it personally. I just want to say that real quick. My friend Lori owns it, but we work together hand in hand. She's a good friend. We've known her for like 10 years, and she kind of has the same outlook on life that I do. And her daughter Brooke's amazing, and she helps out with the location as well. But it's I wanted to go there. It's also been on paranormal lockdown, and when we were first opening it, I said, "Well, Lori, let me see if I can get anything there, because I can't just call up Nick and say, I got this new location, but I don't have any claims. Haven't experienced anything there. I have a good story about a sanitarium and people getting electrocuted in an electroshock tub down in the basement area, and all these crazy things that have happened to people, thinking that they're trying to relieve stress, relieve this pain, but it's really not doing anything except mutilating them. But I think it was done for the right reasons. I don't think people were trying to experiment on people back then. I think ultimately the people that were giving these therapies were trying to help with what they knew back then. But that you get the patients coming through, and I was sitting there in the second floor, and this is my third time there trying to investigate. And at this point, we've had poltergeist-like activity documented down in the kitchen, where a can of pop actually flew off the counter. And I have a geobox, and I'm just running the geobox, and all of a sudden I look and I see this dark shadow coming towards me like this. And the thing that stood out about this shadow was you could see its eye, like it had like red eyes, and then it turned and it went up the stairs to go up the stairs. And then we followed. I'm like, guys, and the two people that were with me saw it, and we followed it up the stairs, and it looked like it was looking in the rooms, like it was checking in the rooms, like it was some type of residual type of like happening. And then it walked down the hall and just dissipated. Now, I'll tell you, that's a lot different reaction than I had from the first time I ever saw a shadow figure, when I ran out the building and couldn't breathe. But as you do it more often, you get more in tune with what's going on. So I didn't feel any fear. I just felt like it was like a calming, like maybe it was like a nurse or a doctor or something like that was actually going through and checking on the patients. And it was I felt very residual. And then when Nick came there, he was just standing on the porch doing an interview with Lori, and a whole mirror came off the wall and smashed onto the ground. Like it was like picked up and smashed onto the ground. And these are those old mirrors with the wooden slots on them that you slide down into the screws. And this had to have been picked up and smashed onto the ground. So something with a lot of energy there did that. And I don't know if it was, what the purpose of that was, but we don't really get a lot of negative. It's just positive interaction there, a real positive grouping of energies that are at that location.
And so that place is open, you're going to be doing tours there and all of that stuff. People can book.
It's open 24/7, 365 days a year. Nobody's living there. It's used as a paranormal research center. So if there's an open day on the calendar and you wanted to book it, you're more than welcome to book it. We'll give you a tour, and we'll try to give people as much time as they want. We're really flexible. Like if somebody's coming in from out of town, what time do you want to check in? 1 o'clock. Okay. So we'll have somebody there at 1 o'clock, open the door, give you a tour, and then let you guys have it for 24 hours, or 20 hours or whatever for one night. I mean, want people to spend as much time there as possible. And we clean it up and work and, let the next people come in. So.
Wow. How cool is that? You also do work with the ghost finders.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit. So that's pretty cool as well. You're filming a lot. This is fantastic.
Yeah. It wasn't something that I ever expected, but it was just kind of stuff that falls into your lap and you feel good about it. So as long as I enjoy myself and enjoy what I'm doing, I continue to do it. And it's a hard balance too, with running a location, doing all the filming that I do. It's and then the stuff that I'm doing with Nick Roth with his new show and running that, and then running the stores for him, and it's a lot. and then the family too. So I have to have that all balanced out. Luckily, he moved to Buffalo, and I introduced him to his new wife, and they live close by, so we're able to see each other on a weekly basis and kind of coordinate and know what we're doing, and works out really well. But the Ghost Finders, Rob Thompson, who is the creator of that show, it's the longest running independent paranormal show in the country, in the United Kingdom and the United States, and it's been going for 11 seasons. And they had come and got in contact with me about filming at the Hinsdale House, and they asked me to come and do an interview with them. And the thing that really stood out to me about them is the how eclectic they were, how everybody was so different on the team, but how professional they were, how they cared about they cared about showing the location as it is, and giving not adding all this fluff to it. You know what I mean? With bringing in different dimensions, like an eclectic witch, like who you normally see on a ghost hunting team, with her bringing in those type of elements in the investigation. I just found it very interesting, to the point where I started giving them other locations, like all my contacts. I'm like, here, you need to go to this location, and you need to go to this location. And finally they were at this one location, and they had asked me to come back and investigate with them. And it was in Bergen, New York. And at that point, one of their investigators was leaving, and Rob came to me and he said, Dan, do you want to join the team? And I had my own team, and I said, well, I remember talking to my wife about it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be stuck on a team. So I had to the cool thing about it is we can all kind of plan ahead when we're going to be doing filmings and when we're going to be doing things like that. So it works into everybody's schedule. And sometimes it's a pain in the butt, but it's not like a normal television show where you're saying, okay, this production day is this day, and you're going to be filming from this time to this time. We can all work together and it's kind of like a family type thing. And we've been able to put out some amazing episodes of investigations of locations that we've been able to go to all throughout the United States, and it's been fun. Nick's actually come and helped produce some of our episodes, and it's really good.
It's fantastic. You've got a lot on your plate. I don't know how you do it. I really don't know how you do it. The most respect, because it's crazy trying to have a family and travel, and not to mention the fact, do you find that when you're going to these locations, have you ever brought an attachment home with you? Do you ever have any residual stuff that kind of follows and affects you and your family after you're done investigating and filming?
I don't feel like I have. Like, I've been all these locations that I've been going to, I feel like I'm very well protected. In my belief systems, and I do what I need to do before I leave a location. And there hasn't really been anything too definitive that's happened at my home. I have my house protected since I've been doing this. So I just stay strong with my beliefs and protect myself and my family from this type of stuff. And I also try not to get involved with cases that isn't something that I know what I'm doing. Like if I go in and I investigate, if somebody tells me to come and I'm kind of consulting them, and they're giving me information, and I go into a location and I feel like it's something that maybe is out of my realm that I've never dealt with before, I always try to, get somebody else involved with that, maybe a demonologist or somebody of what their faith systems are that can come in and actually kind of step in and do something that may be able to assist them. Because I'm not into doing exorcisms and all that type of stuff. I've been involved with a cleansing before, but I'm not trained in doing that. So I allow the professionals that know what they're doing to do that, and work together. You bring the best people in with what you're doing, that way your reputation stays good.
Yeah. And the thing is too, is that's another great point. A lot of people let ego get in the way, and ego kind of drives them in wrong directions. And I think it's really great for you to say that as a well-known, respected investigator, that you're not afraid to hand the reins over to somebody who that's their bag. That's what they do. That's kind of their thing. And Richard and I, try to emphasize that a lot. We're not afraid to say we may not have all the answers. We will try to find the answers for you, but we'll do our best to kind of aid you in that. But it's important not to bite off more than you can chew, because that's when things get dangerous. There's people that are very, very badly affected. There's a colleague on one of the television shows that I do, Paranormal Survivor, that she's no longer, and I'm a firm believer that she was fully affected by it. And I think it's a lot more serious than kind of we see it on TV and think it's entertaining, but there is a serious element to it.
Right. Yeah, I think it's important to have a good backlog of people, honest people that maybe are know what they're doing in different aspects of the paranormal realm, it never hurts. It actually makes you look better, I think. If you go in and do things the way you're supposed to, do things for the right reason, and let that ego be put to the side, because at the end of the day, if these people are helped, or whatever you're trying to do is helped, then you did your job. You did what you did what you came out to do, and that's the most important thing. So.
So I'm going to speak for all of our guests, because I know they want to know, what's the scariest paranormal experience you've had?
I always I mentioned it a few minutes ago how I ran out the building, but there's a theater in my hometown called the Riviera, and I was investigating there kind of early in my paranormal career, and the team was up on the stage, and the experiment that we were doing, we were using different types of EMF meters in the center of the stage and the left and the right of the stage. And then we had people out in the audience clapping, and we were having people come out to the right of the stage and bow. And we were trying to see if we could get any EMF hits on the right of the stage. And we were documenting all this. And I said, I'm just going to go up in the mezzanine, and I just want to be alone. I just want to see if anything happens, while you guys are doing this. So I went up into the mezzanine, and I sat down at the baby grand piano. We had a camera going. We had our typical paranormal tools, the laser grid and all that stuff set up. And I remember sitting there, and then I looked over to my left, and I saw this mass coming out of the wall, out of this it was a pipe organ, and it started levitating towards me. And the thing that really was really going through my head is, I'm like, the laser's not penetrating this thing, and it's coming towards me right now. I'm like, what the F is this? And I took one of those breaths, and I felt like my heart was stopping, like it was just bumps up my arm, and I could get chills thinking about it to this day. And here it is. It's like this far away from me, and then it glides into the projection room. And I just remember not breathing at all. I was just like freaked the heck out. And I got up and I ran down the balcony stairs and out into the street just to get some fresh air. I probably stayed a good 45 minutes out of there. They had come out to see what had happened. And I told them, and I told Louis, who's our photographer, I said, just go up there and plaster pictures, get pictures of the balcony. Something's up there, dude, And
without me.
yeah, without me. And he probably took 600 pictures, a little over 600 pictures. And I remember a couple of days later, he's going through and analyzing all the pictures, and he pops this picture up, and there it is. It's this dark face with these little glowing eyes, and just viewing down off the balcony, like trying to see what we were doing. Like it was creepy as heck. I've gone back to that theater many times, and we're actually, the next episode that's coming out in August for Behind the Shadows Decades. We go back to the theater with a new team to relive some of the old claims that we did, that we uncovered when we were there, to see if they can come up with anything. And some of the shots that we got while we were there, it's going to be an amazing episode. Bringing back some of the old team and some new people, some young life into it. And it was one of the scariest moments of my life, but I think it's also a defining moment of my life, because even though I was scared to hell, now it's like I said, it's to the point where I'll walk up to it now and say, hey, what's going on? Or what are you doing? Like I know it's not, most of the energies that are out there are not there to harm you. No, they won't harm you.
You just want to tell it to sit down, sit its little translucent butt down. I got some questions. Okay.
And I feel like a lot of the people that, like, are posting pictures of getting scratched and associate that with negative. And I always try to say, you got to put yourself in the perspective of this energy that left the human body. Maybe they don't know how powerful they are. Maybe they just accidentally left a mark on you, trying to get your attention,
Absolutely.
They don't want to harm you. They're just trying to let you know that they're there. And for those that experience in that, turn around and turn a recorder on. I don't care about the scratch. I want you to start trying to see what just touched me. Like, get it on camera, get a recorder going, and start asking some questions, because I think that a lot of people will be surprised to know that that's not a negative interaction. That's a positive interaction that you're getting with these locations. It's only happened to me once in all the years I've been doing it. Some people are more susceptible to it than others, and I think a lot of that has to do with how they are mentally, how the energy is drawn to them. But
I mean, honestly, too, the reception that that kind of activity gets is all based on faith. It depends on what your faith base is. I mean, I get called a demon chaser every day. I mean, it's like without fail where I'm at. And in the Bible Belt of the United States, I get called a demon chaser. It's just a matter of ignorance and just lack of understanding. People, think that anything that, will generate the hair in your arm to stand up is a demon. You know what I mean? It's just, they're going by what they're taught. They're going by what they're exposed to.
And a lot of
And
people, what they see on TV, unfortunately.
oh God, yeah. Yeah, and it's just, I would love to be like to see a show someday that debunks all the crazy myths about everything about
It's
the
sad.
paranormal.
It's sad because it doesn't seem like the networks want that.
No, they don't.
I mean, I'm involved with the aspect of presenting things to networks, and when we present stuff like that, it's like, oh, you're not Ghost Adventures, we don't, we need something scarier, or we need something, it's like
Scarier, yeah.
That's why I'm happy, like with the Ghost Finder show. It's on Amazon Prime, and we put it on Paraflix now that people can it's like a app that you can put on Roku, your phone, anything like that.
Right.
And they can actually watch what we do in a positive light, as opposed to always searching for the negative.
Yeah. I think the thing of it is, and I've said this before, a lot of times they're just looking for somebody that can look good on camera. And, whether you have experience or have any gifts or anything to bring to the table, sometimes not really that big a deal. But, or they don't want experience. They just want, some activity. They want somebody to be able can deliver the theatrics at times as well.
Activity, whether it's there really or it's not there.
You're right. Yeah. Anybody can do the, oh my God, and that's really what they want in a lot of regards.
I mean, that was very compelling.
Was it?
Oh my God.
Did it get you there? Yeah. Yeah. I could do that. Yeah. I could do vignettes. I could do all of that stuff. It's great stuff. Just takes a couple of years of acting. But yeah, I would love to see just documentaries done correctly. I'll tell you the one guy that really kind of spun my head around about how well to do documentaries was Steve Shippey.
Oh, he's amazing.
Whew. That man can pop it out. It's just one of those kind of guys.
I'm really happy with his show. I really am. And I'm excited for the new stuff that he has coming out.
Oh, yeah.
It's very interesting. And I'm glad that they're allowing him to kind of express how he wants to do it.
Well, that's, him and I talked several times, and that's the reason why, he did the documentaries every year, because he could do it his way.
Right.
And not that his way was the wrong way, but just his way was his way. It was his material. It was, his evidence. And
I
we
think
just don't.
The diehards that really love the paranormal really can respect what he does, because he's into the history. He's into like telling the story.
Yep.
Of what he's doing. And, not everybody's into that so much. They're more into the theatrical stuff. So
now,
anything that I feel like that happens on his documentary feels legit.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a natural feeling of somebody might have when something like that happens.
Yeah, and I love seeing the shows that are working with psychic mediums now, and he's doing a lot of work with Cindy Kaza.
Mm-hmm.
And man, they're a dynamic duo. They really are. But I would love to see more shows that use metaphysical people in them, people with gifts and abilities that just, going out there and green light for 42 minutes and go ahead and put a show together. That's been done. We can't have that anymore. But, and we're we're already coming to an end pretty much of the show, guys. Wow. That was quick. But let's get into real quick about contact points for you. What's contact points for you? Where can people go to find your stuff and all that kind of good stuff?
Just my name there, basically DanielKlaes.com. It's going to have links to all of my social media, Hinsdale House, Wildwood Sanitarium, the store that I set up to help support Hinsdale House and what we do. Some really cool stuff on there. But any events that I'll be at, any events that we're having at the location, all of that information is just generally all in that one spot, DanielKlaes.com. Just make it easy for people.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you for having me.
I love hearing the stuff about the Hinsdale House. It's great stuff. And your other project as well is coming along.
Yes.
Yeah. What you need to do now is learn how to get sleep in all of this. That's really what you need to try to do.
When I sleep hard. Like literally, like, because I probably get like 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, and that's how I've always been though. But then there's always that day that sometimes I need a day or two just to chill.
Yeah.
And just recoup.
Well, especially when you're fighting a paranormal hangover, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
That's great stuff. Katie, do you have anything else for him at all before we let him go and enjoy the rest of his night?
Well, I am experiencing technical difficulties on my end. There's something going on with signal or something. The internet's out, so I'm catching bits and pieces. I apologize. But Daniel, I think I caught that you were able to give your information and your website. We're gonna try and blow you up. We'll put you in the comments if you guys can hear me. But thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it. There's a lot of people on here that have you on their bucket list. They want to go to these locations, so we'll try to get those up in the comments as well. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us and joining Daniel. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care, Daniel.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
All right. You able to hear me now?
I can, but it's very, very, very blotchy. I apologize, everybody. It was very, at the end, I could barely hear anything. So if you lost me, I don't know what's going on, but something was happening.
Yeah. A lot of things. He's got a lot of things going on.
He does.
Now, Donna, you were asking a question. Richard, question mark. What's going on?
Maybe it was a signal.
No, maybe it was a signal. I don't know. Yeah, it sounds like the storms and all that have really kind of wreaked havoc on the show tonight, guys. And we apologize, out of our control, though, unfortunately. But Daniel being a great guest, we all fought through it, so that's a good thing.
And you know what, guys, if you want to look at any of his information, you go to danielklaes.com. There's all the stuff there. I'm sure he told you about it. I'm going to say it again. You can go to the Wildwood Sanitarium, the Haunted Hinsdale House. It talks about the ghost finders. You can buy merch. He's got lots of merch going on as well. There's books you can look at. He was very modest in his interview, and again, that's one of the reasons why I respect him even more. But I mean, he's a book author. He's a film director. He does public speaking and consulting. There's a lot more. If we had more time, I would have loved to ask more questions. But he's really established and he's done all that. So go to his website, check him out, have a read, because there's so much there to offer. And if you're, Canadian and you want to cross the border, there's places to go down there. There's places to stay, and the same goes for everybody south of the border too. I've never heard somebody go to that location, the Hinsdale House, and be disappointed. Not one person.
That's really rare, because I mean, every place I've ever been to has its cycles. You know what I mean?
Right.
You'll have some instances where you'll go there and you'll catch nothing. Again, a place like that is very similar. The Red Hotel, same thing. It's the same way. I can't ever go there without catching something. It's always been busy. So it's really wonderful to still have the kind of activity in these places that we have. Because you figure eventually the shelf life, unless there's some way to regenerate this energy, eventually the shelf life of this product is going to go away.
Yep. Agreed.
I mean, that's just the reality of it. And we hope not, but that's the reality of it. It's going to eventually dissipate and go away. So enjoy it while you can. And I would book the life out of the Hinsdale House. Absolutely. If you had the ability to go.
Yes, for sure. We had a comment earlier that said, Adam Tipler had said, I thought I heard that shut up people don't talk. Is that true? And Kelly Grant replied with, I had an experience in my home with a female, and she was having a full-on conversation with someone else I couldn't see. But I did see her, and she wasn't impressed. And she turned around and walked into my daughter's room. In a bedroom, and that was a few years ago, and I haven't seen her since. So my question to you is this, Kelly: was it a shadow person? Did you only see a shadow, or did you see body parts? Did you see features on that body? In my experience, I've never personally communicated with a shadow figure. I've only ever witnessed or documented a shadow figure, but I've never had open dialogue with one. A lot of the EVPs, I have never necessarily seen an apparition as well as heard the apparition, if that makes sense. I usually see it and then it disappears, and we're talking about physical appearances. We're not necessarily talking about in my mind's eye psychically. What about you? what have you experienced?
You talking to me?
Yeah,
You got to be talking to me because I'm the only one in the room.
you
Sorry.
talking to me?
You talking to me? You're talking to me now. Yeah, it's kind of a really funny thing. I'll get a glimpse and then I'll capture audio. It's amazing too. People have the ability to be able to hit the right notes with activity like that because you'll see something, activity register on a device, you'll hear something. So I always have a recorder going with an EMF meter, and if something happens, it just goes in that chain. It's kind of like a subsequent confirmation there was something that just happened because it goes from the visual to the EMF detection or whatever to being on audio. It's really good. But as far as shadow people talking to themselves or talking, you know, I, as much as we know about shadow people, could be anything's possible. I mean, we don't know hardly anything. Again, like a thimble, we know about that much about shadow people. I'm still trying to figure out how they like to not to be seen. They like to dodge and duck, not be seen. I would think if they had that kind of ability, if I was an entity that had that kind of ability, I think there's a chance I might want to go ahead and go hello. I mean, just instead of just ducking and hiding and running, which they don't want to be seen. I think that's kind of interesting. I think that's more interesting than actually seeing was why are you running? Why are you hiding?
Right. True.
You
Kelly
know?
replies with definitely seen features, and she was wearing a skirt down to her feet, and she had puff sleeve top, and her hair was in a bun. So this was definitely something from an earlier era or earlier time. So it wasn't necessarily a shadow person. This was a full body apparition. That's a
It
pretty cool
was.
experience. That's like winning the lottery, my dear. If you're able to see those things, a lot of us investigators spend years trying to obtain those types of experiences. So that's a pretty neat experience.
It really is. It's there's a lot of one of a kinds depending upon where you're at. But people have to. I think people really need to have the ability when they go into a building to not expect a lot of visual. I think that's still to me one of the hardest things that an entity can do is to manifest physically. It takes a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
So don't dismiss the gift of an EVP. Don't dismiss that. I mean, you're getting something out of them. And then, like I've said, in my Facebook profile, it's a gift. Anything you get is a gift. They don't have to deal with you. There's no obligation to you at all. So they're willing to engage you in some way. My God, just take it and run. Just understand that it's not. Now, this is not normal, so things aren't going to go a normal way. You have to be careful of that. Listening to Daniel, my gosh, he is so burned up with stuff he's got to get done. That'll give you a paranormal hangover before the paranormal will give you a hangover.
Yet he's
it's kind of crazy.
And he's so humble, which is fantastic. This is something that is important to him. It's all about the paranormal. It's all about the investigating. And the fact that he is so well respected is why he's so well known. And that, my friends, is
Thank
kind
you,
of,
Penny.
I think that's the best part about it, and I think that I know it's on a lot of people's bucket lists to go to those locations, but I think it should be on one of the top of the bucket lists because it's going to be authentic. It's the same locations that you're doing. It's an authentic place to go that you're going to have a real experience. TV has not necessarily tainted it, right? It's given it, it's only helped it along, and it speaks for itself. Those are the type of locations you want to look for. And we're going to have more para-celebrities, we'll call it, people, well-respected people in the paranormal community. They're going to come on and talk about their stories and locations as well this year. So we're looking forward to more of them coming along.
And it's, guys, we're trying to find as many people as we can to do this, but this time of year, everyone's really busy.
Yeah.
A lot of the folks that have shows are getting picked up for shows or filming, so they really don't have a lot of time. But we're trying our best to get guests in here. So Katie did a great job of getting Daniel on tonight. What we'd also like to ask you guys too, if you did enjoy the show, if you do like the shows you've seen previously, if you have, we want to thank you for that first. But we would also like to ask you to share our show. Penny just said shared. Thank you very much. We appreciate it very much.
Appreciate it.
We rely on that to be able to reach the audiences that we're trying to help and help educate. So we appreciate it a lot. And we're a little short of our time, but we can go ahead and say good night to everybody, though.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. So meet us right back here next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be one of those kind of guys, one of those nights guys. And we thank you again for coming out. But we also, again, thank you for sharing if you have. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you next week.